Hello, everyone. I believe there are a good bunch of you already here from Teams. If you're able to rename yourself, that'd be appreciated with your team and your first and last name. But if not, no worries about that. We also have a register. For those that are non-team and non-judge, thank you all for being here. And we're going to get started in another minute or so. Um, it's a pleasure. This is really a treat right before the holidays to kind of see, I call Spark a gift of the Pava Center, and see all of the really cool, innovative ideas that students have been working on. So I'm really excited to get started in just another minute or so. So,
While we're waiting for folks to sign in, I'll just say again, congratulations on everyone being here. We're really excited for today's teams to share their good stuff. Having a rainy day here in the Baltimore area, so it's a fun time to
yes.
hang out with all of you. We just wrapped up our fuel showcase last week. Had over 200 people there, so we'll see if today's records beat that. Um, the Zoom recording from that will be online soon, so keep your eyes peeled. And just to steal a little bit of thunder from some slides coming up, I'll just point out that our accelerator application cycle for next semester is now open. And so we're excited to see new people come on in and some of the teams from this semester go ahead and progress as well. So
Okay. Yeah, that was definitely a fun time. A very, very fun time. So we've got Jay here as well. Hi, Jay. Thank you for joining. Sorry for the login trouble. Glad that we were able to get you on board. Whenever you're ready to join with your camera on, appreciated. Um, and while Josh is still working on our last judge, I'm going for the sake of time to get started with today's showcase. So for those that know me or those that don't, nice to meet you all. I'm Sephora. I am the assistant director here at the Pava Center. Been here for 2 years now, and this is actually my fifth Spark Showcase. Truly a pleasure every time. And I'm really excited for today in particular, since we have a very unique mix of teams ranging in all different kinds of technologies and product innovations. Uh, Even though you see me and just a few other faces, please know that it is a huge force of individuals behind the screen, doing all things logistically to support today's webinar. We've got Josh, who you just saw a minute ago. He is our director for all Pava Center programming. We have Paul, who is our associate director at the Pava Center. And for those of you that attended Fuel or are familiar with our later stage program, he is the direct lead for that, as well as our summer incubator program. We have Anthony, who is the director of the Social Innovation Lab, which is our community facing program for social entrepreneurs and student entrepreneurs based here in Baltimore, trying to make a change. And Elena, who literally without her work, these slides would not exist, does all things marketing, branding, and design for us, as well as handles this 10,000 square foot space. And this program could not be possible without the direct support of our strategic advisor interns that come from pretty much at least half the schools across JHU, including Whiting, Bloomberg School of Public Health, and Cary Business School, and Krieger. Each of them have worked with these teams individually over the course of the last 12 weeks and really helped them not only refine the product you see here today in form of a pitch, but really dig deep into what this idea is, why is it valuable, why are they the founder to build it, and what are some of the immediate next steps they need to take to go from idea to execution. So truly appreciate them and could not go without a shout out. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Spark, This is our early stage program for students that have an idea, but aren't quite clear on A, is this an idea that really has a business value proposition that's worth pursuing? And or B, am I the right founder to build it at this particular time? And so we have a curriculum that we've created to help them along the steps from customer discovery to understanding market research, both primary and secondary, to building out even their first financial model, understanding marketing and brand positioning, and much, much more. And we do that on a weekly basis in group virtual mastermind sessions for about an hour that are interactive with case studies, interactive exercises, and a chance to get to know one another. Um, the I would also be remiss if I didn't mention that we have quite a few virtual events that we offer throughout the semester, not only for our Spark students, but also the community at large. For this particular semester, we had Charlotte Clark lead a really, really cool session on building a minimum viable product. And we also had Kristen Bailey talk about assessing your fundraising strategy and really pare it down to the basic fundamentals about around is again this for you and what is the best way to approach this in your particular timeline. So really wouldn't I would also love to give them a shout out, even though we didn't have a highlighted slide for their support. And then of course our students can meet with us for office hours in both virtual or in-person settings. Even though this program is offered virtually, our space is entirely in person, and we do our best to include them through both the in-person opportunities as well as virtual. So again, thank you all to the strategic advisors and PAVA Center for helping move us along. So each team receives a $500 stipend award just for participating today, which I think is particularly awesome since a lot of accelerator programs at this particular stage do not offer that. So not only do they have a cleared stipend that they receive from us, but the audience will also be supporting. So thank you all 58 that are here. It includes two Audience Choice Awards, one for each round. And the judges that you see here today on the panel will also decide the winner of a $2,000 award prize. So each student here has a chance to walk away with one award depending on both your vote and the judges. And so I do want to give the judges themselves a major kudos. This is the slot of judges that we have for today, including Todd, Bina, Zach, and Liana and Jay. They are all part of our extended network of individuals that are dedicated to supporting the entrepreneurial endeavors that we have here at the Pava Center. Not only have they engaged as judges, but some of them, including Liana, I must give a shout out, have been direct interns in providing operational support to our programming. Some of them have hosted workshops or do a lot of one-off mentorship with the teams that they're introduced to that have some curated needs that they can primarily address. So we are truly nothing without the extended network of those willing to support and help. Um, so we are still, Josh, it looks like we are still waiting on one other judge to start. While I am in the background, can you come off camera and just give maybe a few more words of encouragement before we begin?
Yeah, and thanks so much, Sephora. And again, huge props to Sephora and the rest of our student interns for going ahead and getting to this place today. Sephora, we do have our third judge is having a little bit of some difficulties that I need you to work on some settings on Zoom on your end. So I think we should go ahead and get the first team queued up here, and we'll just proceed and hopefully be able to get Bina in just a moment. So I am going to go ahead and promote our first student team. And once they are on, we'll go ahead and proceed. So thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Mame Aidan, and today I want to highlight a critical global health challenge that could affect any of us. So skin conditions affect 70% of people globally. That's about 6 billion people. Yet more than half lack access to adequate care. Delayed diagnosis and complications increase healthcare costs, worsens healthcare outcomes, and causes significant mental health burden, making skin conditions a leading cause of disability ahead of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and chronic respiratory conditions. At Skin Deep, we believe early diagnosis and timely management can change this. Our teledermatology platform delivers care at 30 to 50% lower cost compared to traditional in-person consultations. With a serviceable market of $9.36 billion, we address an urgent need and create a scalable framework to expand into other regions and specialties. So far, we have conducted comprehensive market research and customer discovery, and we are ready for the next step. Today, we ask for the grand prize of $2,000 to help in developing the prototype in preparation for pilot testing in Ghana, where the need is particularly critical. Together, let's provide quality dermatological care to the people who need it the most. Thank you.
Thank you, Mame. Can you now at this time I invite the judges to ask any questions that they currently have.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Mame. And yeah, I enjoyed seeing the longer pitch on your video, and definitely a need worth going after. I was wondering where you were anticipating getting the images or other data necessary to train the models that would enable the AI triaging in your solution.
Yeah, so for the data sets, we are looking at getting our images from a variety of health institutions through partnerships. So currently, because we'll be starting in Ghana, that will be the first data set that we'll look at training the model with. However, we are trying to train with a diverse set of population so that this will not focus on just people people with skin of color, but also different color types to increase the validity and accuracy of this. The training will be done in hand with a dermatologist to confirm and increase the validity of the testing.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, can I hand the next question over to you? Or to Todd,
Yeah.
either of you?
Yeah, I can go next. Todd asked the first question I was going to ask as well, so thank you for answering that. I was curious to hear more about how you're going about building the partnerships you would need for the telehealth aspect of this.
Okay. So as part of the market research, we had the opportunity to talk to the Ghana Health Service, and currently there's a digital health collaborative that the country is piloting, and they have a model called Xline, which delivers digital health lab solutions. So it will be the first that would use data from images from the primary care clinics across the country.
And I had seen that, yeah, you were anticipating maybe half of the revenue coming from subscriptions. So who would be owning the prescription for that, or who's paying for that part of it?
Okay, so subscriptions would be for healthcare organizations and NGOs. So mainly national health insurance institutions for low to middle income countries. So for example, Ghana uses a national health insurance, and most of the country is on that insurance. So by partnering with them, they pay a subscription-based fee to be able to use a telemedicine platform to deliver the healthcare services that they do as well.
Okay, great. And do you know, obviously there's a ton of variation country to country. In Ghana, are there examples of other sort of similar investments that the health system has made where, by getting early identification of some issue that, it may present a health savings down the road for the whole system. But do you have, examples you can rely on to help close
Yes.
that deal?
There's no telemedicine platform currently, but there's a digital health solution that the country is currently using. It's called Zipline. So it helps to be able to take basically laboratory investigations and distant areas that don't have access to healthcare, and then transport them with drones to labs for the results to be sent back digitally. So that's something that is currently running and the country is paying for it. Pilots have been going well. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And just final question here. I was curious, I think in your longer pitch, you mentioned there are only 8 dermatologists in the country, so I can see the need. How aware is the population of the need for this kind of service, even though there aren't that many people offering dermatological services today?
Yeah, so skin conditions are things that are diagnosed usually by primary care physicians or community health workers that don't have up to the standard of training that a dermatologist has. So it's still very necessary for us to take into consideration the cultural context and the readiness of the population for the digital health solution. But then I believe that because it's a new thing and there's a lot of acceptance with the current digital health solutions in the market, there's room for people to learn and get on board and use the service that we are going to produce here.
Great. Thank you so much. And that does it for our questions for our first team. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mami.
I'll just say one more thing. Mami,
Yeah, go right ahead.
if you don't already know the team from IntelliHealth, which is also started here at Hopkins, that would be a great connection. You might be able to learn a lot from each other as you move forward.
IntelliHealth. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I'll look out for them. Thank you.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and share our next screen, and forgive me as I'm in slideshow mode there for just a moment. Can everybody see my screen? Todd and Jay, are you seeing the React Glove slide? No. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm just going to have to, excuse me, just one second here, folks, as I toggle. And we'll do a full screen share, and there we go. I think everybody should see everything now. So Omar, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, my name is Omar, and I'll give you a little bit of a story behind this. So basically, growing up, I spent a lot of time painting with my great uncle, who later on developed Parkinson's disease. And so watching him struggle to hold a brush due to resting hand tremors really inspired me to create a solution for this problem. And years later, my team and I created React Glove. So it uses advanced accelerometers and reaction wheels to stabilize tremors in real time by sensing the tremor and counteracting their movement using reaction wheels. Very similar to how a spacecraft maintains its balance in orbit. And unlike other solutions that rely on bulky, weighted designs or invasive methods, the React Glove is compact, adaptive, and non-invasive. And our main goal is to give individuals with Parkinson's the independence and confidence to reclaim control over their daily lives. And our mission statement is to react to Parkinson's one tremor at a time.
Thank you, Omar. Okay, my first question was, how do you determine between the motion you detect, determine between a tremor and intended motion?
Yeah, so one of the main things to look at, especially with Parkinson's, is the type of motion that it is. So Parkinson's has a very specific type of motion versus like an intentional movement. So intentional movements will appear much smoother in terms of accelerometer readings, whereas Parkinson's will be very, very short bursts of movement. And our main goal, and as we go further into development, is to basically create an algorithm that's able to differentiate between what's a resting or what's a tremor and what's normal hand movement. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe that kind of leads into my question. So I saw on your longer pitch the prototype, which looks pretty cool. I was just trying to get a better sense of how far along it is. Like, are you at a place where you have a glove that can be on a person's hand and have gotten some feedback on it, or are you a bit earlier? Can you clarify a little more about the current technical developments?
Yeah, so right now we have our MVP. So we've basically proven this concept works on a one-dimensional level. When y'all saw the video, you basically saw the bottom of that platform moving when we were shaking our fingers, and it being able to stabilize on top of that. So our next goal is to basically be able to create an algorithm that's able to detect tremors versus normal movements, and be able to put this onto some kind of glove. And then from there, our goal is to basically make this compact enough for people to use in their everyday life. So we've proven the concept works. Now it's just a matter of getting it into a more user-friendly form.
Okay, and I had a question about the pathway to market for this. Is something like this going to be a medical device, you think?
Yeah, so one of the main things that we were trying to do is, of course, the FDA is going to be a hurdle, right? But this would basically go under Class 3 prosthetics for FDA approval, which is much less stringent than, you know, a drug approval would be in the FDA. And also another thing we were doing is considering applying to groups like Y Combinator or Steeper Group, which already have established connections with the FDA and could hasten that timeline. Another path we were considering too is to potentially just skip over FDA approval and not get this classified as a medical device. You know, if you look at like, let's say like an ankle brace, this kind of product wouldn't need FDA approval. It could just go straight onto market. So if we could kind of tailor the way our product is marketed to get that approach, it would allow us to potentially skip over FDA approval.
Yeah, it's all about what kind of claims you make and what it's actually doing. So yeah, there's potentially some opportunity there. Thanks.
It's time for one last question, if either of you want to step in on that.
Yeah, I think I recall from the longer pitch that you said something about looking for partnerships for this. I'm curious if you've had any initial discussions with anyone, if you have anything you can share there.
Yeah, so two groups we're really looking at right now is a Steeper Group and Techstars. So the main reason why you may have heard of Techstars, but Steeper Group is another group which focuses mainly on prosthetics. So they already kind of have a established market base. We've reached out to them and we're having some conversations. Right now, our main goal is to kind of try and get this more fully fledged and developed before actually forming a partnership with these organizations.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Omar. Appreciate your time. And Sephora is coming back, and so I am going to put her back on Spotlight, and I'm going to fade from view again. So back over to you, Sephora.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you all for the patience, and shout out Josh for helping me navigate as we try to get our third judge. Unfortunately, Bina will not be able to join for today's session, but thank you both Todd and Jay for holding it down. And with that, we are ready to transition to our third team. Diana, whenever you are ready to come off mute, the floor is yours.
The opportunities in STEAM, experiments, scholarships, careers have the power to change lives. Yet, over 330 million students worldwide remain trapped in a bubble of untapped potential. Prisma Interactive is here to pop that bubble. With just a smartphone and a simple plastic template, we enable students to explore hands-on learning, from basic geometry to advanced science through interactive holograms. Our platform also connects them to courses, scholarships, and competitions and sponsored by our partners, opening paths that align with their goals. This year, we validated our technical feasibility, leveraging past competition successes and mentorships from Huawei, Transbank, and Amazon. Now, we are seeking technical feedback for building the MVP. Then, in year 1, we will impact over 1,000 students at no cost to them, while sustaining growth with services for STEAM centers. Let's pop the bubble of missed potential. Unlock your opportunities with Prismar.
Thank you. Jay, Todd, what questions do you all have?
Yeah, well, sorry, Jay, I wanted to just to start, make sure I understand how it works. So you're through this plastic template and then viewing and the camera on the phone, you're able to create, is the holograph, or is the holograph something that you see through the screen on the phone, or is something that is projected from?
I don't
something?
have a template, however, you can use any screen. However, I use say smartphone, so it's easily because almost everyone has a smartphone. So you put the plastic template here in the middle, or you could put it again, like in any screen, and then it reflects here like if it was an hologram, and you can interact with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was curious. What does your content library look like? I'm trying to get a sense of what are the kinds of things that students would explore on this platform.
Firstly, I was thinking of using a cube for the MVP. However, the basic idea is using from math and biology, chemistry, and physics. However, as for like a long-term vision, I will say like research, like if you could create an environment and you could like test your ideas in there for robotics specifically and nanotechnology.
Okay, and do you have some repository that you're pulling this from? Is developing that content part of what you would need to do or have done already? Where does the content itself come from?
From users, and also there's a market of people that will be interested in there, that will be like my early adopters, which can be like parents and STEAM educators, then our customers that are the STEAM advancement centers and universities that want to get students interested in STEAM careers. I already spoke with Universidad Técnica Federico Santa Maria, which is a well-known university back in Chile, and they say they were interested in using that feature actually.
And so, yeah, can you help us, give us a sense of what's the status of it today? You know, are you at a place where you could run a pilot with some, small group of people, or there's still some important development to be done?
As I said, I did already the technical feasibility test. So I separated both functions, like the one for 3D modeling, interacting with the program, and then the other that's like the repository for the opportunities. I'll speak more about the holograms because that's the more teachy part. And I separated it into 3 parts. And being able to display the images like differently in the screen, and it works. And then through a hand gesture code in Python, recognize where your finger is so that you could like put it back with a model that allows you to rotate like the images all at once. And I checked that you can make it all together in Python. However, the thing is that the UX design isn't too friendly. So that's why I want to build an MVP that actually makes it easy for the user to interact with.
Okay.
We have time for one more question, if at all.
Yeah, I guess, what do you think are, examples of what might be, competitors for you, or what, it certainly seems like an interesting, useful thing, but maybe with the limited resources that school systems have, or, that these users have, what might they choose instead, or what are you competing against?
Pet simulators. Actually, that's a platform we even used in college. However, the UX design isn't that friendly either, and everything is through a screen. And there are many studies that say that having VR platforms, that's why headsets are also like a big boom, are better for learning, like when you touch something. So that will be like our main competitor because it is widely accepted. However, this could also be displayed in a computer, in a phone.
Yeah, I think that's that's a good insight that, yeah, maybe your competitor is just people who don't believe in the value of having this kind of interaction versus what they can just see on a screen. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Diana, for today's presentation. With that, we're ready to move forward with our next team, Cortisense. Nishta and Co, whenever you are ready, the floor is yours to pitch.
Thank you, Sephora. Thank you for this opportunity. We're excited to pitch our device to you guys. Imagine a world where you can monitor your stress levels the way you do your heart rate or your step count in real time throughout the day. We're Cortisense, a dynamic team of engineers spanning chemical, electrical, and biomedical disciplines, revolutionizing the way we measure and understand stress. WHO considers stress a global epidemic because long-term exposure contributes to major chronic conditions such as heart disease, psychiatric disorders, and obesity. Our breakthrough wearable device provides continuous tracking of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, using a cutting-edge electrochemical sensor paired with a novel dual-layer microneedle patch. Unlike traditional lab-based methods that only provide limited snapshots, our technology provides granular data on cortisol trends over time, addressing a major gap in healthcare and positioning us to disrupt a $40 billion market. We're seeking today's grant prize to fund our prototyping efforts and invite you to join us in pioneering a future where precision stress monitoring unlocks transformative insights into human health. Thank you.
Thank you, Nishta. All right. Judges, what questions do you have for the team?
Yeah, sure. I'll kick us off. Thanks for the pitch. This seems pretty cool. I think one of the things I did not understand from watching a longer pitch is just how is the technology here maybe different or more complicated than the continuous glucose monitors and things like that we already see everywhere? Like, what is the unique thing that you're adding on top of those other technologies?
Okay. Thank you for your question. The continuous glucose monitor was kind of the inspiration for this because my dad has diabetes and I saw him use it. And that was my initial thought that we can just directly translate that to cortisol, right? But the problem is that glucose as a molecule has inherent electrochemical activity. So sensing it using a single layer microneedle platform is a different problem than cortisol, which doesn't have any electrical activity and is a steroid-based hormone. So there are a lot of similar hormones like progesterone or testosterone that have very similar structures. So sensing cortisol reliably is a challenge, which is why the exact technology of glucose monitors can't be applied here. And our self-reporting sensor, we're collaborating with the original developers of the sensor to optimize it further, but essentially it binds cortisol specifically. It has binding cavities specific to cortisol, and it generates an electrical signal that is proportional to the concentration.
Yeah, well, I was impressed by this. I think that your market strategy is right to start with, this R&D space. And I was wondering, just first, is it given how difficult it's been to measure this in the past, is cortisol already widely accepted as the single or most important indicator of stress, or is that still something that you might need to prove as you convince people to use this in R&D?
Yes, so I think one of our advisors is Dr. Richard Lee. He's a professor in the Department of Psychiatry. So a lot of his research has been on chronic stress exposure. And the field has largely accepted cortisol as the primary stress hormone. However, one key element of our future development efforts will be translating data sets on cortisol from different patient studies to generate more robust insights. So the infographic of the phone that you see on this slide is our end goal. So we can create manageable insights for the day-to-day consumers who don't have a medical background or a scientific background. That's a bridge that has to be crossed. But cortisol is very well established and accepted in the medical domain.
Okay, great. And I guess similarly to some of the other medically oriented things, what do you expect as the regulatory pathway for?
Yeah, so the regulatory pathway is a little bit complicated because we would be classified as a class 2 medical device because the needles do penetrate the first layer of the skin to extract interstitial fluid. And I believe we would need a 510(k) approval. and possibly clinical trials, which is why we structured our market approach so that we can establish research partnerships and a more robust evidence base that we can approach the regulatory approvals with.
Yeah.
Any final questions? All right. Well, thank you, Nishta, for today's pitch. And with that, we are transitioning to our next team. Vivian, whenever you're ready for Stitch the Deck.
Okay, great, Sephora. Hi, everyone. I'm Vivian Cabral, founder of Stitch the Deck. And as a former project manager in the pharmaceutical industry, I understand the challenges of managing multi-presentation meetings, and I aim to modernize this process. As meeting organizers, you often judge multiple stakeholder presentations in formats like PowerPoint, Google Slides, PDF, and Excel. How can you organize them quickly and keep them on brand without technical glitches? Does that sound familiar to some of you? Stitch the Deck consolidates all file formats into a polished playlist, saving time and money by eliminating tedious, non-promotable tasks like stitching decks together. This allows your speakers to focus on engaging the audience while our AI tools enhance team communications and keep your meetings on track. Our recent survey found that 50% of our target market, which includes professors, consultants, and project managers, would use Stitch the Deck. This aligns with our $346 million serviceable obtainable market, indicating a significant business potential for our product. I invite you to support our next steps to build our MVP, and together we can create meetings that drive success, not frustration. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. Judges?
Well, I mean, the need seems compelling to me. I mean, certainly there are a lot of potential frustrations around all this. I know you addressed a little bit in the longer pitch that there are existing competitors, but I wonder if you could just say a little more about that and how you think what you're envisioning here, just distinguishes you from them.
Right. I would say our closest competitor that's doing the same thing is a company called Prosaria, and they own a product called SlideDog as well. So there are two products in sort of the same category. I think for us, we're thinking about all file formats, not just the most popular ones. They've kind of thought about Prezi, PowerPoint, PDF, Excel files, but I think in today's market, there are over 50 presentation softwares. So I think, we kind of just need to democratize presentation software. So we're not all using really boring templates.
Okay, thank you. And so, I guess I'm wondering, I don't know, in order to be able to interact with and stitch together those things from all these different places, is that a big lift? Is it like a bunch of engineering work that needs to be done to be able to, oh, we want to add Prezi, we want to add Google Slides, we want to add this next thing. How much, effort is that? And are there licensing, or fees that go along with that as well?
Yeah, I think that there would probably have to be some in-licensing, to think about that stuff. When talking with engineers, some of them have thought about just, in the same way that Zoom does all of this stuff, just really spotlighting it and putting it together. So really, we're not, it could be just that we would have to integrate 50 presentation softwares into our, user APIs. And, but yeah, that is definitely a challenge and something that we would have to work through in our development phase.
Okay.
We're not there yet, but hold on. I'll let you know.
Yeah, on that note, I was curious, how much have you done already? Do you have any of these things stitched together? What does your development timeline look like?
Well, right now I've done some wireframes on my own. I'm currently looking for a technical co-founder. I'm getting close. I've interviewed about 7 of them, just trying to see, how they might, solve this problem with stitching content together. I'm not a technical person, so I think, there's just further development on the technical side that needs to happen. But I've been working mostly on the business side, the operations, prepping the market, doing the financials, and creating a business plan.
Any
I've re-
final questions?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Vivian.
I was just going to say I've recruited 9 part-time MBAs to kind of help me through this process, and I've taken it through 2 courses. So, you know, I've had some technical people give me advice on, you know, whether or not it's feasible, and most folks think it is feasible, but it, you know, there are more issues probably around licensing and IP.
Okay, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
today's pitch. With that, we are ready to move forward with our next team. If either of the co-founders, Sarah or Aishu, are ready, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Sephora. So we are facing a crisis. More women are dying from pregnancy-related causes in the US compared to any other developed nation. However, the CDC estimates that 80% of these deaths are preventable. While work is being done to address biological causes, there are no solutions on the market targeting systemic factors that lead to maternal death. Hi, my name is Aishu, and I'm a co-founder of Astrea, a healthcare consulting company tackling maternal healthcare's critical challenges. We take labor and delivery wards from the medical past to the human-centered future. Using deep listening, user experience design, and evidence-based practices, we improve how patients and providers interact with each other and the medical system. Our vision is to transform maternal care, save lives, and build a better world for birthing people. So join us in reimagining maternal care so that every woman receives the safe, compassionate care she deserves. Thank you.
Thank you both. And I'll pass it to the judges for any questions.
So Todd, I'll go first on this one. Hi, really important problem to solve. So I guess the question I have is the challenges here seem very broad and very systemic, and so I'm wondering how much of the problem you think you can solve at the like labor and delivery ward level. So what's your pitch to one of these L&D wards of like exactly how much change you can bring by consulting with them on that part of the problem?
Yeah, so one of the significant drivers of maternal mortality and severe maternal morbidity in the United States is systemic racism. So this is an issue that is integrated into every single part of healthcare within the United States predominantly, globally. So when I was working with an OBGYN practice in North Florida on this exact issue, we were able to make substantial changes. And part of that is doing a very comprehensive and compassionate program of development for the entire staff, residents, and physicians that I did in that practice. So when we're targeting labor and delivery wards, we're talking to them about not necessarily what they're skilled in, which is the biomedical causes of maternal mortality and severe maternal morbidity, but what additionally they can do to really start addressing these issues related to systemic issues like systemic racism. So that includes training on how to see patients as people and not necessarily as numbers, how to work through interacting with each other, how to interact with patients, how to interact with other staff. And that's all part of respectful maternity care, which is a widespread initiative in the United States right now and is gaining a lot of momentum. So we're working on the things that can really make a difference for both patients and providers that aren't being currently done in the system.
And Sarah did see a lot of changes that were implemented in her previous experiences working with this specific practice. They saw a lot of increases in terms of patient volumes as patients started to feel a lot more cared, valued, heard, and respected. So then they were, invited.
Yeah, a couple of things I really liked about what you're doing is I think it looks like you have a good understanding of the whole system and how to speak to these businesses. They need to hear that, oh, you might be able to at least maintain or improve reimbursement rates and that kind of thing. labor and delivery is one of the few places where people have a lot of choice of where they might go to get it done. So I think that's also smart that these practices can use that as like a selling point. So that was good. I was wondering about, do you imagine that this is the two of you as a small consultancy, or it's a sort of a platform that can be grown? And if you are going to grow the business and add in other consultants, where are those people going to come from? What kind of training do they need, and how much training do you think you need to provide? And then I'm wondering how that impacts, kind of the business dynamics of the cost of training people in order for them to be able to deliver the product.
Absolutely. We imagine this becoming quite a large consultancy over the years, because this is such a large problem, and there are a lot of people who are very interested in tackling it. In terms of growth, we imagine other members of our team having very diverse backgrounds. So we both have a background in business, but I have a background also in medical anthropology, and Aishu has a background in biomedical engineering. So we also anticipate having people from technology spaces, user experience design, other social sciences. So really creating a team that can create as holistic of a solution for the clients as possible.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you to our judges, and thank you, Sarah and Aishu.
Thank
With
you.
that, we are ready to hear more about Timptune Trainer. Nupur, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Sephora. So my name is Nupur, and I'm a Baltimore-based musician and educator. I'm passionate about giving students the tools they need to succeed, and so I've created the Timptune Trainer. This is a portable pedal that connects via Bluetooth to a phone app, which takes the user through a series of games, exercises, and challenges. The Timptune Trainer is aimed to solve two major issues within timpani practicing. The first is access to instruments, and the second is the lack of pedagogical methods currently available for timpanists. So the Timptune Trainer allows students to practice tuning whenever and wherever they please. And we will also use omnidirectional mics to capture the full sound of the drums, allowing students to practice with the true sound of the timpani from the beginning of the ear training process. The Timptune Trainer app will also provide students with an ear training curriculum, which is made specifically for timpanists. The Timptune Trainer is the only product on the market that provides a portable pedal, an ear training curriculum, immediate feedback with the true timpani sound. So we are asking you to help us hire mechanical engineers in order to design the prototype and help bring this tool to students. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd, Jay, who'd like to start?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I mean, I really like the idea. It seems like something that should exist because it's, it seems doable and definitely, makes the process more reasonable. I thought your point about having access to the instruments, how can you practice if you don't have access to it? And not everybody has room for a set of timpani drums in their room, in their house. So I really like it. I guess maybe my only feedback from what I had seen in the longer pitch, you just might anticipate, speaking as a mechanical engineer, you just might anticipate a longer, more expensive development time than what you had kind of outlined. And so this isn't so much a question, but maybe just advice. If you can find, a technical person to join as a founder, that's like probably the most efficient path forward for this kind of development thing.
Thank you. Yeah. I do have a co-founder with me. He is doing the software development, and we're just going to hire out for the mechanical portion of it.
Yeah.
Jay, any thoughts or questions?
Yeah, sorry, was looking for my unmute button. Hey, thanks for sharing this. The kind of gamey nature of this seems like I could imagine it being fun to play with. I'm curious if you're primarily thinking of this as like a single user thing, or if you've thought of ways to kind of bring different users together to have kind of a more interactive experience beyond just what you do by yourself.
We had played with the idea a little bit. We haven't developed it further, but we did think about being able to share, like become friends with people on the app so you can share when you finish practice, kind of like the fitness app, where it kind of tells people when you've like done a workout. It would be similar, like after you've had a tuning practice session, it would inform people of that.
Okay. And Jay, I just wanted to say I see your hat, the Blue Jay hat. That's a really nice touch as an alum. Any final questions from either of you? Okay. Well, thank you, Nooper, for today's pitch. And with that, we are going to transition with Natalie. If you are ready, we'd love to hear about Salary Tea.
Okay, hello. I will be presenting with my co-founder, Rachel. So what if managing your business's finances was as effortless as checking the weather? 58% of business owners feel overwhelmed by their financial tracking, and the average financial reports cost businesses up to 10 hours a week. Salary Tea is here to help. Say goodbye to hours spent interpreting complex reports and hello to simpler financial management. Salary Tea collaborates with your current bookkeeping and accounting software.
By combining technical and industry experience, Salary Tea is led by Natalie, a data science graduate student, Rachel, a mechanical systems engineer, and Susan, an experienced accountant. Salary Tea is available on mobile devices and computers and is integrated with checkout systems to provide real-time financial insights and user-friendly reports. Additionally, our AI-driven financial forecasting models revolutionizes cash flow and revenue planning, helping customers make better business decisions and cutting costs by over $96,000 a year.
So business owners, what do you say? Grab your devices and get ready to save time and money with Salary Tea.
Thank you both, Natalie and Rachel. Pass it to the judges to ask questions.
I was wondering if you could say a little bit more about your intended users. In the longer pitch, it wasn't clear to me if you were targeting the owners of companies or the accountants they work with or something else. So can you say more about that?
Natalie, do you want to take this question? I think you're
right now. Oh, okay. So we are targeting the business owner and their financial team. So according to a CPA practice advisor, generating these financial reports takes approximately 10 hours a week. And these reports encompass a variety of projections, including cash flow, revenue analysis, and financial forecasting. And so with Salary Tea, we eliminate this inefficiency by leveraging AI, and we can generate these reports in seconds. So it's basically to foster a more collaborative environment between the everyday business owner and their financial team.
I also just wanted to clarify the name Salary Tea at first made me think this was mostly about salary that small business owners might be paying, and maybe think like platforms like Gusto. But it sounds like maybe it's meant to be broader than that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So our name actually came from one of our first products that we launched in early 2024, where we offered a bookkeeping Excel sheet in Etsy, and then we wanted to expand our company and then move on to business owners and expand that way. So it's really intended to help business owners have a foot in their conversations with their accountants and better understand the numbers behind it. Because what we found is that most business owners are really stressed with the numbers, or they completely hand it off to accountants to handle it for them, or they're handling the finances on like Excel spreadsheets. So what we wanted to do was provide them with very simplified like documents as well as reports for them to see them in an easier and adjustable way. And we actually have pictures of our mock-ups, which are taken from a company we're working with right now, Kushi Sushi. So we took their data that they get from their current point of sale system, and we were able to create mock-ups of very user-friendly, digestible financial reports.
Okay. And so how much of what the improved product here has to do with just the intelligence that you're bringing and the things that are going to be kind of hard-coded in versus application of some AI? I'm asking because, I mean, on the face of it, the number crunching part of accounting seems ripe for automation. But, for a business owner, understanding the meaning behind these numbers, or the, impact of them on their future business or whatever, or how their strategy might evolve, that seems like where maybe you would get important insight from a human in the loop. And is that part of what you're trying to replace?
So we're not trying to replace accountants. We're trying to facilitate a more collaborative environment. We understand that there is a financial literacy gap between the financial professional and the everyday business owner. So for example, Wesley, he's the owner of the business we're working with. Our aim is to generate these reports faster so that the accountant can explore various revenue projection scenarios for the business owner. So if Wesley wanted to introduce a happy hour item or a new Spirit flight on the menu, instead of taking 10 hours to project one, a week, they can now explore multiple opportunities and scenarios of potential revenue growth with our product salary team.
Okay, thank you.
If we have time for just one more quick question, I'm curious how you're balancing, like, part of the pitch from the longer presentation seemed to be simplicity here. Trying to help people who don't have a lot of background in finances. How are you trying to balance the need for simplicity and the pitch on simplicity with kind of people wanting more and more and more features to answer more and more questions over time? Like, how do you see achieving that balance?
I think that's just going to have to go with the information derived from our market discovery. So initially, we're majority working with the restaurant owners. And so the metrics that we created for them is mostly curated to what they're interested in. So sales forecasting, cash flow forecasting, inventory, and demand forecasting. And so to have a better understanding of other business owners that are not just restaurant owners, that would just take more market discovery and beta testing with a more unique people in the industry.
Okay. Thank you both,
Thank you.
Natalie and Rachel, for your pitch today. And thank you, judges. With that, we are ready to transition to Rohan, who will be presenting MailAbot today. Whenever you're ready.
Hey, okay. So educational robots can promote critical thinking skills, creativity, and teamwork in students. In addition, some robotics platforms can be incorporated into core subjects. However, for some elementary school students, current robotics kits are either too challenging or require complex assembly or too simplistic. In addition, in most classrooms, time is limited, making the more complicated robotics kits unfeasible. Our product attempts to address this by providing a better balance between talent and simplicity. I have 2 prototypes so far, and I'm in the process of getting customer feedback with a second prototype. I'm also in discussion with a teacher in Cecil County interested in buying the product. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Rohan. Todd, Jay, what questions do we have today?
Yeah, Rohan. So I guess one of the questions I had is, I had seen in your earlier pitch, you mentioned the use of these like vibrational, actuators instead of a more typical, rotary motor kind of thing. And it wasn't clear what you thought was the pitch or what's the advantage there.
So like in robotic arms, right, there's like multiple things that they have to control. There's multiple motors, multiple servos. And here there'd only be one vibration motor that students have to put onto the leg to get that more complicated motion off the leg. So it's like more simpler, but it's still like has some element of complexity that the robotic arms have. That's what I'm meaning.
Okay. And what would be your strategy for, getting this or, finding your customers and selling them on what you've got here?
So as I said in my video, I'm focusing on private schools now because public schools have like a longer funding and like buying time process. Currently I'm like just emailing different private schools in Maryland, DC, Virginia. I've also emailed a few universities who have STEM outreach programs for elementary school students as and when they want to buy.
Okay.
Jay, any questions?
Yeah, thanks, Rohan. I was curious about to learn a little bit more about the unique thing you're doing here? Are you bringing, components that aren't otherwise available? Or are you trying to develop the core building blocks? Or are you essentially taking off-the-shelf pieces and combining them into novel kits, say, that people wouldn't have access to otherwise? Help me understand a little bit more about which part you're working on.
Yeah, so part of it is from off-the-shelf pieces. That's where the vibration motors and the microcontroller are from. This part, the blue part that you see on the screen, I designed it and I'm 3D printing it. So yeah.
Okay. Any final comments or questions from either judge? Well,
No.
thank you, Rohan, for your time today. And with that, we are ready to transition. Bo or Ifi, whichever one of you is ready to pitch, we'd love to learn about Bomadi.
Hey guys, hey Sephora, thanks a lot for your time today. In early 2022, my dad, after returning from Nigeria, straight a shot of Bomadi. Sorry. In early 2022, after returning from Nigeria, my dad shared a shot of palm liquor with me. All I could say was wow. And we both chuckled. It was so smooth, so rich, with hints of coconut and vanilla. So special yet missing in our celebrations. Last year alone, the US imported $11 billion in distilled spirits. The growing cultural influence of the African diaspora presents a unique market opportunity. Today, 1 in 5 Black people are immigrants or children of immigrants. In addition, streams of Afrobeats on Spotify last year alone hit 18 billion, increasing 9-fold since 2017.
Bomadi, an organic spirit made from palm sap, embodies this cultural renaissance. Rooted in tradition, made for celebration, Bomadi combines meticulous craftsmanship with rich storytelling. It's not just a liquor, it's a sip of heritage. It's a celebration of love and an invitation to belong. Thank you.
Thank you both. I'll pass it to the judges for their questions.
Yeah, thank you guys for this. One thing I wasn't clear on is this, I don't know the right term, for this spirit made from palm sap, is this something that is already, exists in West African markets, but just obviously under a different brand?
That's a great question, Todd. So it's something that exists in West Africa. It's not formalized as it is like other liquors, just because due to the history and colonization, we consume other liquors, but not our own liquors. So part of the goal of Bomadi is really, reviving this rich heritage that we have that's been, put down over generations.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've been struck in recent years by kind of, the way different spirits can kind of, establish a place in kind of the popular, culture and then really be celebrated and come into the limelight that way. Mezcal, I feel like in recent years has really jumped out that way. Okay, so people are making liquor this way, but not any kind of, industrial process, maybe is the way to say it. So how much work do you anticipate that being part of, what lies ahead, establishing a distillation process or whatever is required to get to a product?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. The process of making a spirit, it's very simple, right? You have the original sap and then you take it through fermentation and, a process of heating and cooling. That's pretty much how most spirits are made. In terms of, the research and development, there is a company that's doing it, on a small scale. So there probably are a few micro distilleries in Nigeria in the region that do it. More than likely, it would have to, much of the capital raise would be involved in actually set up our own distillation process. But the goal is to start small and, to grow big. When you think about category like tequila, for example, when in the early 2000s, Patron was the first of its kind. present to the US on a global scale. And then 20 years later, we have all the new brands, Casamigos, and mezcals coming through. So the goal is to be a first mover and then charge that category moving forward. And obviously in 20 years from now, we'll see more brands like Bomadi showcasing the West African heritage.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Jay, any questions?
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, it seems like there's a lot to do here, from making the product to figuring out how to import the product to, you know, brand adoption and awareness and marketing and all of that. Which are the bits that you intend to focus on versus which are ones that you either feel like can be left for later, or you just plan to outsource to someone else and pay them to do it for you?
That's a great question, Jay. So it's really a three-part process, you know, in the three steps, you know, I would say, or the three, you know, strategies of that, I would say, you know, it's really the people, the product, you know, and the collaboration. So in terms of that, in terms of, I think that the most difficult part about it is probably communicating the story in a way that's short and concise. But my goal is to focus on the marketing part of it, because even though the heritage is important, I want people to understand this is just like any liquor you can find out there. I just want you to drink it, right? You go to the marketplace or the store, you have different choices, you know, to choose from. So I do think probably the most, aside from that, then it's going to be figuring out importing is not as difficult as I thought it would be, just because, you know, there are small companies, there are companies that work with small brands, you know, globally. So there's a company known as Park Street Imports. You know, I've talked with them. I've also talked with a few founders in the liquor space, and they've urged me to focus on really raising capital, to be wary of any headwinds that might come up when it comes to regulation, or even, you know, stuff for setting up the actual distillation factory.
Okay. Are there any final suggestions, comments? All right. Well, thank you both, Bo and Ife, for Bomadi. We are ready to transition to our last team with Benjamin and Summernest.
Great.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. 4 million college students do research or internships each summer, including my co-founders and I. Yet, it took us over a month of searching to find a place that met our price and length of stay criteria. The problem is, medium-term summer housing is too hard to find. Existing sites such as apartments.com are focused on long-term leases, and asking around is too unpredictable. That's why we founded Summernest, a website for people to put medium-term summer properties for rent, and for students to search for these properties. Compared to our competitors, we focus specifically on summer housing for students. We have advanced filtering tools such as summer properties, advanced filtering tools specific to summer properties, and we are building fraud detecting features to protect our users. We charge a 5% fee for a successful lease, and with a market size of 500,000 students, we could generate up to $25 million in revenue a year. We are currently building our website and plan to deploy it early next year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all. Judges, whenever you're ready to come off.
Yeah, I was curious to learn a little more about which problems you all are focusing on. I mean, there's the payment processing, there's identity verification, there's the actual search function to figure out, you know, the apartments you want. Which of these are you focusing on? Which are you having others do for you?
Absolutely. So our main priority is creating the platform that has college-specific properties, and that's what we think is the biggest problem out there, that there are no other sites that specifically focus on college sites. As for the other features, some of the features we'll be building in-house, for example, the fraud detection and identity verification. We are looking to do like a student ID verification when you have a renter or when you have a property, to have them verify with pictures of their property. And the other search tools we would try to use open source libraries out there to streamline the building as much as possible. So yeah, that's our focus. First, the college properties and getting that up, and then building some of the things on our own and looking for libraries that be able to do it for us.
It seems like maybe to me, the biggest obstacle is getting the property owners, and maybe they're not necessarily the owners, maybe they're people who are looking to sublet. But to making them aware of your site and, you know, incentivizing them to list on your site. What's your strategy there?
Absolutely. So we've done over 30 user interviews, both on the people looking for properties and the students who are looking to sublet their properties. And we found that there's actually a lot of organic demand for this. As people who are becoming upperclassmen ourselves and people who are friends with a lot of upperclassmen, we realize that a lot of them have the same struggle where they're looking for months and months and months to find people who match their criteria. And so it's a challenge for both parties, and both parties have something to gain. The people who are looking to rent out their properties, if they don't find someone, that's $2,000, $3,000 lost in rent each year. And then for us who are looking to rent these properties, we simply can't stay. So we found there's actually a lot of demand, and we don't even need to like mention the 5% cut that we take out of it, or like go into it. We just ask them like, how is the process of finding someone to sublet your property? And all of them respond with, it took forever and it was really difficult. So we from our interviews, we've heard a lot of demand for this.
Yeah. Okay. And so your strategy, it sounded like from the longer pitches to just prototype this, in the Baltimore area, so that was what I was wondering. How do you start? How do you prototype this to find out, what works and what doesn't?
Yeah, so we're in the midst of building our website. We have the front end going. We're still setting up a little bit of the back end. And once it's all up and running, we plan on posting it on social media, trying to spread news of this website by word of mouth, and then just first seeing how many people are registering, what features that people value, and really refining our website to make sure that all of the user needs that we've identified and the new ones we learned about are on that site. So that's our goal. Start at Johns Hopkins, where we have our own networks to advertise this. And then once we have refined this product, then it's when we start looking elsewhere to other institutions, maybe ones around here, UMD, Towson University, to help them, or to launch this product there, and then to continue spreading like that.
All right. Thank you to our judges, and thank you, Summer Nest team. That actually brings us to the end of our first round. So Todd and Jay, my colleague Paul, will be sharing the link, his private Zoom link to you all in the chat. Redirect your attention there. It's also on several of my communications, so let me know if you need help. They will shuffle off for a bit and deliberate. Bina, who was unable to make it, I really do just want to give her flowers, also reviewed, and Paul will share what some of her thoughts were in that private Zoom room as well. She has been a very true and tried friend of Pava Center, specifically Spark. This would have been her third Spark showcase that she invested her time in. And while we are allowing our judges to deliberate, now the 80 plus of you that are on today's webinar will have the chance to actually vote. So I'm going to open the poll live on Zoom. Okay. And you all should now see a webinar appear live on your tablet, laptop, smartphone, and please go ahead and start voting. I'll keep the poll open until about 1:19 before transitioning into the next round. Hi, Zach. Hi, Liana.
And thanks to Zach and Liana, our next round of judges that will all be helping ask questions of the next cohort block here. But Sephora, what a great first round. I mean, talk about a diversity of ideas. We had scheduling, we had presentations, we had liquor. I think that's the first time we've had liquor, and maybe not ever, but in a while.
Yeah.
So that was some nice variety to add in too. I don't envy the judges their deliberation choices. And for everybody that's on the call, today we're just showing one pagers, but the judges have all seen longer videos, long form videos. And if you are interested in seeing them, please feel free to reach out to us or to the teams, and I'm sure they'd be happy to share. But all of the teams here today did record longer videos that we just don't have enough time for all of the teams to take 5 to 7 minutes. Because Sephora, how many teams do we have between today and tomorrow?
We have 35 teams across the 2 days, so you are all seeing a small sampling of what is our highest volume program. And yes, all of the judges, I'm sure you all noticed in some of the Q&A, they mentioned long form videos. They get a full picture. So I hope you all are enjoying the small sampling, the treat, if you will, and the Q&A as well. And in addition to seeing any of the individual pre-recorded videos, if there are any teams that really piqued your interest and you'd love to connect to the founders, please feel free, and I'll actually put my email in the Slack now to just reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to facilitate an introduction.
Great.
Here we go. We
Liana,
are
you've been a student worker here and now a successful alum. Any thoughts on the overall gist of the team so far? And then searching for the mute there.
Okay, sorry. For some reason, I was having an issue with that. Yeah, no, I think so far it's been awesome to see the diversity, and I think that they seem to be really far along than what I originally anticipated with Spark. So I'm really excited with just the momentum that the teams are really bringing to the table. So I'm excited to see the teams that we will be judging too.
Yeah. And Zach, thank you for being on and for listening through all of those other discussions as well. So looking forward to having you. Is there any teams that you wanted to hear more from after hearing their first round pitch, first block?
One, I'm stoked to be here, and two, I hope the liquor company has a reason to celebrate after the judges get back here and announce some of the winners. It might be a little bit too early in the week, but I'd love to take a try of that. I think that would be my personal favorite.
Yeah, I can't deny I've never had that kind of liquor, and I absolutely 100% want to try it now. So, teams in the future, just know hooking up directors with samples is a great way of keep staying on our radar. It reminds me, Sephora, a few years ago, we had Tasty Tape come through our accelerator who, went super viral and got attention all across America. I'm happy to report that they are still doing well, still working on their venture, but they did bring samples to demo day, and they did not share it with the whole room, but I got a taste of Tasty Tape. And so at one point, I was only the fourth person in America who had tried this viral sensation, and I definitely wore that as a badge of honor for some time. So always a good way of staying on our radar. It does not influence judges, but for those of us that work here, we always enjoy seeing what folks are working on up close and personal.
likewise. So I guess consumer goods probably has a unique advantage in that way. With that, we are ready to close our first poll. It seems like we're waiting for maybe one or two more individuals to sneak it in, but yeah, it has been 5 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and end that first poll. Okie doke. And we are ready to transition to our next round. I did receive from the founder that they might be interested in start coming back to them at the end, Josh. So we are going to be slightly out of order and just start with Nurse Pathway as opposed to Precision, if that's all right with you. Okay. And with that, let us get started on our next round. Andy, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, the nursing shortage is a growing crisis. At the same time, nursing students face intense academic pressures, as evidenced by the 20 to 25% attrition rate in BSN programs. Folks, this problem needs to be addressed. Addressing nursing education is one of the keys to fixing the shortage, as better preparation reduces attrition and ensures a steadier pipeline. Now, With many nurses seeking supplemental income beyond bedside care, this presented a great opportunity. My name is Andy Charlemagne, an ICU nurse and tutor and the founder of Nurse Pathway. We're a platform that empowers nurses by providing opportunities to earn income outside of traditional bedside roles, by providing academic support to aspiring nurses. Nurse Pathway isn't just solving problems, it's building the next generation of empowered, successful nurses while fostering financial wellness and professional growth for current ones. With your support, we can bridge the nursing workforce gap and redefine support for the heroes of healthcare. I'll open up the floor to any questions.
Thank you, Andy. Zach, Liana, whoever's ready to kick it off.
Yeah, I can start off. Andy, great to hear from you. Lucky you get to start first. I wanted to note something that you called out in your pitch video that we reviewed. You've had incredible traction so far. Can you, I think for myself and the audience here, can you articulate a little bit more about some of that growth that you've achieved since 2023 and then plans to keep that growth going into 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did start the company in 2023. Prior to starting the company, I was working at a university in New York as a tutor. So ultimately, a lot of the students wanted to start working with me privately, which pretty much led to the development of the company. So ultimately, just throughout like consumer discovery, we realized like the nursing entrance space, there weren't a lot of players within the space. And so that's a space that we really went in and shared our expertise. So that has been a bulk of most of our sales, pretty much through a test called the Tease. So primarily, we would go and speak with high school programs as well as vocational schools that do require the Tease, and pretty much made them aware that we're providing test entry support for students to pass that test and enter into a nursing program. And so far through that marketing approach, we've pretty much tutored over 100 students and have made upwards of 10,000 in revenue. We pretty much do plan on continuing that process through marketing with these particular schools, but now we feel that by opening the platform and allowing other nurses to join, we can reach a broader range of people.
And Andy, how do you maintain your quality when it comes to the education of the nurses?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for any nurses to get onto the platform, pretty much we do a licensure check. So to make sure that they have an active license in nursing. Second, what we do is we do an education verification requiring them to have a BSN. So BSN is pretty much their Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. And for any courses that they do plan on teaching, we do require them to show a academic transcript that shows an A- and above for any of the particular courses. We do also suggest a letter of recommendation, but that isn't required to get onto the platform. One other thing I'd add is we do have a feedback system as well, where the students can grade their experience with the tutors. So pretty much based on that feedback, that pretty much provides us with a direction on whether to keep the tutors on the platform or to remove them.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Andy.
Andy, how is your platform currently built? Is it a web application? Is it more of like an iPhone app? How does it work out?
So currently we're primarily focused on, we have a current website on, but that website doesn't incorporate the algorithm, which would match nurses and students. So that's pretty much what our plan is in the next year, just to develop the new website and a user interface for the nurses as well as the nursing students. One other thing I would say as well, we would like to move into an app-based approach because we see like a lot of our competitors in the space do have an app, but currently we just have the website where we have a few nurses that work with us and they just set their own schedules, and nursing students would just pick based on their availability.
Great.
All right. Thank you both so much. Oh, Liana, did you have a final thought or question?
I did, but if we don't have time, it's all good.
It's okay. We can
I'm
squeeze one
willing to
last
take
thing.
it. Yeah, yeah.
One more. Okay. If you guys have like more nurses versus students, how do you deal
Mhm.
with either the supply or demand on either side, since you kind of have a dual market?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the biggest things that we do by enforcing pretty much an application process, we plan on limiting the amount of nurses that are on the platform. Ultimately, we do want to make it worthwhile for them, where there is enough work for them to make a significant amount of income by tutoring.
Great. Thanks.
All right. Thank you both so much. And with that, we are ready to transition. Alina, whenever you're ready to tell us about Aline.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Alina. So I'm a girl who loves working out, but I also dress modestly. Because of this, I've always felt uncomfortable with the current athletic wear options. And after talking to over 50 girls, every single one of them has told me that they felt uncomfortable in their gym clothes at some point. What has made these girls uncomfortable is that they're constantly struggling with athletic wear that is, on the one hand, cute but too revealing, or on the other hand, modest but not functional or cute. I founded Aline to bridge this gap. At our core, we are a modest athletic wear brand, but we create sustainable, breathable, and durable clothes that are both functional and cute so that girls can confidently reach their workout goals. There is no other brand that fills this need, and with a $2 billion market in America, there is so much potential. Please join me in creating a space where girls can feel covered and confident.
Thank you, Alina. Liana, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a really interesting concept, but I wanted to kind of better understand how you are accessing the actual customers themselves, since it's kind of a niche specific market. Like, how do you know who those customers are and how you're going to access them?
Yeah, definitely. So I will start by saying that I've done over 50 customer discovery interviews, and that's really helped me get a sense of who my market is. To start, I've really done these customer discovery interviews with girls who are between the ages of 18 and 30. And I've talked to girls intentionally from a wide range of backgrounds, just so that I could actually figure out who my target customers are. I've ended up figuring out that there's such a huge range of customers, and most of these girls end up being between that same age, actually between all of 18 through 30. And most of these girls are actually girls who range from work out a lot and also don't work out or don't really know where to start. But yes, so I did my customer discovery with a diverse audience to figure out who my target customers were.
Thanks.
Zach?
With some of that customer discovery that you've done, have you noted any ways that you plan on differentiating yourself from offerings from much larger companies like Nike or Lululemon who may have similar products?
Yeah, definitely. So the biggest thing, I guess there's two things that I want to highlight, but the biggest thing is that we're centered around modesty. And so this is because our consumers choose to dress modestly for whatever reason. And so I'm trying to create a brand where they can fully see themselves in. And the issue is that, or the difference with a lot of the bigger companies is that even though they might have like one long sleeve shirt here or there, it's really not a brand that's centered around modesty. So a consumer who wants to dress modestly is not going to see themselves in all of those clothes. Additionally, the modest wear that those other brands have, if they do have some, are mostly for specific reasons, like maybe like they have a lot of like winter, like long sleeves for winter, things like that. But my clothing has specific features that allow it to be versatile and year-round, not just for one specific thing.
And in your longer video, you said that you're planning on charging around $50. And I was wondering, like, what are the margins for, it seems that's on the lower end for some of the other competitors. So I was just wondering how what those margins look like and how you actually plan on doing that.
Yeah, definitely. So when I was creating my business model, basically that $50 allows me to still make like a revenue of around like 60 or so percent, which is enough to make a lot of money and see my company growing in the next few years. However, it also allows me to price competitively, just because most of the other like long sleeve or modest options that are out there are priced upwards of $70. And another thing that was really important for me was to aim for my customers. And so when I was doing that customer discovery, over 90% of the girls that I talked to said that the current athletic wear is just too expensive, and that's a huge barrier. And so I know that I can make a good quality product, and even if I sell it for a bit less, my aim is to retain those customers and make it at a price point that they're comfortable buying so that they could potentially come back and buy more.
Great, thanks.
Last question really quick before we move on. Have you thought, and I guess, have you done much research into the materiality of the products that you'll be working with and gotten some of those swatches and how you're going to build that out?
Yes, definitely. So when I talked to a lot of girls, many mentioned wanting things that were a bit more sweat wicking, dry fit material. I'm thinking of potentially using a polyester blend for that, but I also want to make my company sustainable. And so I'm thinking of potentially using bamboo because I know that's a bit more eco-friendly and the material is very soft. What the exact blend looks like, I'm not sure of yet, but that's where I'm at right now.
Great.
Thank you, Alina.
Thank you.
And with that, we are steadily transitioning to Fusion. Henry, whenever you're ready, floor is yours.
Hi guys, thanks Sephora. So earlier this year I was on a plane and I was listening to an audiobook. I got bored and I fell asleep. When I woke up, all I wanted to do was listen to my favorite film soundtracks. And then I thought, why can't audiobooks have music the way films do? So I interviewed audiobook producers from the big 5 publishers and I asked them, why don't all audiobooks have emotionally enriching soundtracks like movies? And they basically said that there's no budget for it. But in the few audiobooks I found that did have music, it was intrusive and low quality. Naturally, the industry needs somebody to demonstrate that when done right, audiobooks with music generate more money than audiobooks without music. At Fusion Audio, our goal is to score audiobooks so well that people won't remember the time when audiobooks didn't have music. To get there, we are prioritizing a collaboration between authors, composers, and voice actors, and refining our music integration approach based on customer feedback.
Thank you. All right, Zach or Liana, whoever's ready.
I can jump in on this one. Henry, as an avid audiobook listener, I totally get where you're coming from. The low quality, like musical rise that comes in, it needs to be desperately improved. Going through some of your video pitch, I was left a little bit curious of how your business model operates. I wasn't sure if you were acting as like an agency that was a third party, or if you're agent, essentially brokering between artists and musicians and authors, or if you're just a matchmaking service. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, so we sort of see two different stages in this venture. The first stage is our lean business model, where we go around finding authors to collaborate with and making music for specific chapters and scenes from their audiobooks and using those recordings as promotional trailers. We're going to post these on social media and adjust to feedback accordingly. Once we've connected with enough authors, we eventually hope to serve as sort of like an external vendor in the audiobook market, where we're buying the audio rights from publishing houses and producing full-length audiobooks with music, doing the production and the music all ourselves, and then distributing those audiobooks to Audible and Spotify and other platforms.
Gotcha. Okay. Just to make sure I've got it.
Yeah.
At this current moment, you're acting as sort of like a media agency to help promote the audiobooks.
Right.
Okay.
Just so we can figure out how to do it best and connect with authors in a way that so we don't have to launch like 10-hour audiobook productions, like one project at a time. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's where the trailers come in, correct? Henry?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's a really interesting idea, and also I listen to a lot of audibles, so to incorporate music, I think it's a really awesome idea. The question I have though is, what's stopping like an Audible or a Spotify from, seeing what Fusion Audio is doing and then saying, wow, that's a great idea, and then just doing it on their own?
Yes, so that's a great question. We have three sort of areas of competitive advantage where we see ourselves setting apart from people like Audible and Spotify. But the main way that we hope to enter this industry is through trusting relationships with authors. So we want to be the first to really go around the country and the world connecting with authors and building these trusting relationships, and prioritizing in-person collaboration between our team of composers and the authors themselves, the way that these big companies can't do or don't do. The authors I've interviewed have all told me that in working with these big companies, they always find themselves limited in their collaboration, also in their creative potential. And growing up, I've really learned to value collaboration in the creative process as a musician, and I think that's really where Fusion holds our greatest value is being the first to really master this skill of collaboration between composer and author.
Zach, do you have a final question?
Last follow-up to that. How do you plan on reaching those collaborators?
How do you mean? You mean between the composer and author?
Yeah, I guess
Reaching the authors?
all parties involved, musicians,
Yeah.
authors, artists, all of this.
Yeah, so right now we're building a team of composers. I'm the lead composer, and there's another composer I'm working with too. And there's one author we're working with. We hope that if we do a great job with our first trailer, which we just submitted to her yesterday, that she'll recommend us to other authors and say like, oh, these guys are great. Like they can really enhance the quality of our work. And through that, building more and more relationships like that, getting recommended from author to author. We think that's the biggest way that we're going to really gain these collaborations, but also through social media. We're posting the trailers on social media so authors can see our account and reach out.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Henry.
Yeah, thank you guys.
With that, we are ready to transition. Efua, whenever you're ready to begin.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Efodra McLean, and I'm the CEO of StatsMath. So imagine arriving in a new country, you're full of dreams, only to face roadblocks when trying to open a bank account or even to build credit. You don't understand the rules, the language, or even where to begin with. And this is the reality of 40 million immigrants in the US, of which I'm one. At StatsMath, we are changing that. We've created a platform that simplifies financial systems, providing step-by-step guidance, multilingual resources, and trusted partnerships with financial institutes to empower immigrants to take control of their finances. Immigrants face overwhelming barriers, limited access to financial tools, language challenges, and confusions when taking processes like routine numbers or credit scores. These obstacles keep them from achieving independence. So at StatsMath, we make it easy to build your credit score and to understand financial systems all in your own languages. Our partnerships with banks also make these tools reliable and accessible. The market for financial tools for immigrants is set to grow from 2.5 billion in 2024 to 12.58 billion by 2034. With StatsMath, we are unlocking the potentials of immigrants while empowering million lives to thrive. Join us in creating a world where financial independence is possible for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Efua. Judges, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I could start. How do you how are you connecting to your customers, since there's like a huge range of people that you can connect to? So how are you even deciding who to target first?
Okay, so per our market survey, we actually decided that we're going to target students coming into the country first. So we're going to use Johns Hopkins as our pilot project. I mean, the MPH MBA program it constitutes about 90% of the immigrant population in here. And so we're going to start with them first. We've already gone ahead to actually build like a WhatsApp group based off of that. And then the next step is to actually build our website. And then based off of that, we create more traction and then move into the application-based model.
Awesome. I think I personally love this concept. I think financial literacy in the United States alone, like even as someone born in the US, is already at such a low rate, but I can only imagine what it's like coming into the country for the first time. So I think this is an amazing idea.
Thank you.
In the video pitch, you mentioned that you're currently running a blog under the name of Start Smart. What's your current traction look like for that?
Okay, so for now, the blog has a lot of traction. If I'm right, everybody in my MPH program is actually on it, and even some individuals in my MBA program, and it's traveling by word of mouth. And so based off of that, we are having a lot of traction as we speak now. And it's actually going into other institutions. So we have various individuals. So it's based off of more like the immigrant communities. So then we put them in the various immigrant communities to let you know that, okay, there's this available for you to know that if you have questions, you can go ask there, or you can actually look at it through that lens.
Do you have a ballpark on what that current audience is?
If I would, let's say 1,000 for now, 1,000 people.
That's great.
But it's growing every day, so.
Even better.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea and concept, and I love that you have kind of the education component to it as well. I think that's huge, like having a blog. But I'm curious how you take, because when you're dealing with finances, like there's a lot of liability also on your end as a company. So
Yes.
how do you deal with that?
Okay, so in terms of that, we actually have our content being rigorously vetted, and also we actually have looking for partnerships with trusted institutions. And so we are going to actually leave that, like more of take that out for our lawyers to actually safeguard us in terms of taking liability for that. And so once you open the app, it tells you that this is information that is tailored towards you and that is based off of your unique circumstances. And then it actually indemnifies us in terms of that.
Interesting.
Thank you, Efwa. And if there are no other questions, we are ready to move forward with our next pitch. Whenever you're ready, Michelle.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle. I'm the founder of the Book Club Edition. Here at the Book Club Edition, we're all about creating more equity in the world with more readers. And our focus is on reading because currently in the US, the average reading level of US adults is at the 8th grade level. And within the past 12 months, adults have mentioned that they've read one book. And this amounts to more than $200 billion in losses per year in the US workforce. So the solution to this problem is that here at the Book Club Edition, we do hope to partner with US companies to provide mainly a book app with reading programs and curated recommendations to employees so they can improve adults' reading levels and workforce opportunities. So our investment ask today is $2,000. And for anyone else who's in this call, we do hope to partner with you. So if you're interested, feel free to email me at partnerships@bookclubedition.com. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think this is a really important need since there are a lot of people that definitely don't read enough. I wish I read more myself. I'm curious kind of where your traction is right now, and kind of, yeah, where is your traction right now?
Currently, I completed the research phase and I'm working on the prototype for the app. Since I am doing that on my own at this time, it is taking me a little bit longer than I would want to, but I do hope by the end of next year to have something that I can hopefully bring into market. And I am working on getting partnerships, at least, so that they can start doing beta testing in the next year.
And what is how does it work to kind of tailor the book specifically towards like an individual, as opposed to kind of other competitors that maybe have books already, like sell books or Goodreads and things like that already kind of create lists or recommendations for you, kind of like a or even Audible as well. They'll have that.
Yeah. For the book club edition, we're focusing mainly on self-help books, business books, and then some fiction books, and of course romance, since it is very popular. But the focus will mainly be on business-related books, since a lot of US adults, when they're thinking about reading or professional development in general, they want it to transfer over to their workplace. They want to advance. They want to earn more money. So they need to go ahead and see the gains somewhat immediately, right? And the business books do help achieve that. And there was a second part to your question. You got cut off there a little bit. Would you mind repeating it?
I think that answers it. I guess another question that I would have would be if you've asked or worked with or spoken to any companies that have posed interest in something like this, and what have those conversations looked like?
I've mostly had conversation with HR people that are in my network, and it's kind of getting to know like the correct titles for like people to reach out for, like in HR benefits and those sort of things. But from the individuals that I've talked to, they are very interested in this as a professional development opportunity, since most organizations have money set aside already for their employees, and some employees actually don't use that money at all. So it's giving them the opportunity to go ahead and use the app for professional development opportunities.
I see. Got it. And what is your revenue model exactly? Like, how are you making money on this?
So it's subscription based. So it's going to be per month, per employee. And we do hope to retain them more than a year, right? The contract would essentially be for a year per company, hopefully longer if they want to go and see it, but usually should be longer than a year so that they can go ahead and see results.
Got it. Great. Well, thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you. And seems Zach had a bit of a drop-off issue. So, Josh, if you are willing, we have time for maybe one extra question or word of suggestion or encouragement for Michelle?
Yeah, no, such a fun idea. And Michelle, wondering if you could just highlight some of the partners you've talked to so far with some of those US companies that you think might be a first target market. Like, who have you talked to so far that has expressed interest in this?
Not quite interested, like they're willing to sign right away, but I've talked to some people from Pearson. I worked at there previously, that they're giving me a little bit more of like, again, the titles of like who I need to reach out, and a little bit more of like the not org structure, but essentially who you would need to reach out and who would be the final decision makers.
And on the back end, how do you tailor kind of different books for different people and the recommendation side of it? Like, is there a specific questionnaire, or how are you actually going about that process on the back end?
Phase one would definitely be a little bit more human based, right? So it's asking the individual.
Oh, it looks like we lost her.
I think that was a technical glitch on our end, but we'll take care of it.
Okay.
But thank you, Michelle. Really appreciate you sharing. It was a great job. And I'm going to go ahead and invite our next team up, which is Free Flow.
Yes. Prisha and Ethan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sephora.
Thank you.
Ads suck. They are everywhere, but consumers hate them. In fact, 1 billion people have downloaded ad blockers, while the rest fast forward through commercials, throw away direct mail, and walk by billboards without batting an eye. Digital ads from Google, Instagram, and YouTube especially disrupt enjoyment as they waste consumers' time when they are simply trying to enjoy their media.
What if there's a world where consumers aren't being bombarded by your ads, they're gladly running towards them instead? FreeFlow will print your ads directly on pink boxes, which will contain high-quality menstrual pads. Pink boxes will then be given out for free in high-traffic community spaces. This is a meaningful cause that will ignite unparalleled brand loyalty. Advertising on Pinkbox lowers the pink tax.
Pinkbox also ingrains your brand into the daily routines of your consumers, creating constant brand exposure. Oh, and get this. Every interaction is logged through our QR codes that capture real-time metrics. FreeFlow bridges the gap between printed and digital media.
So who's ready for a win-win-win solution? A win for your brand, a win for your consumers, and a win for society as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you both. And Liana, the floor is yours to ask any questions. Welcome back, Zach.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think this is a great idea. It reminds me of free water, where people would just give out the free water and there would be an ad on it. I think it's a great concept, and I think the way you applied it is a wonderful application to it. Yeah, I would like to know kind of where you are in this process.
Yeah, so actually we're currently in the middle of our go-to-market strategy, which our end goal is culminating to a pilot run. So our business model is two-pronged. The first prong is us selling our ad space to our customers, which are businesses. And the second prong is getting those boxes with the ads on them actually to the consumer. So that second prong is more of the actual pilot run, but we've mainly been focusing on this first prong where the majority of our work has been. So there's three legs for this prong, which is first building relationships with pad and box manufacturers, getting our customers for our pilot run, and then expanding our reach. So through our relationships with the box and pad manufacturers, we've gotten pretty good prices. In fact, our profit margins for regular absorbency pads is 44%, and for our heavy absorbency pads will be 38%. And that's currently our highest cost is the pads themselves, since we're currently purchasing them from Amazon. However, we do have a list of 26 potential distributors that we will work with, which will significantly drive our costs down, increasing our profit margins more. Additionally, just this past Saturday, actually, Prish and I, we went to Remington and Hampden and to other small businesses in the area, and we talked to 35 businesses about our products and their advertising struggles. And 94% of these businesses were incredibly interested in our products, which resulted in 9 meetings this week where we're securing our partnerships with these companies. And the last leg, which is expanding our reach. We're going to do this through the Hampden Village Merchants Association. This is an association that has connections to over 3,400 businesses in the area, in the Baltimore and Greater Maryland area, that will allow us to partner and get the word out of our advertising services.
Great.
Awesome. Zach, I know you caught the tail end, but if you had any questions from the pre-recorded, now's the time too.
Yeah, sorry about that. And from what I picked up on the tail end of the pitch, you guys did a great job, clearly rehearsed. I wanted to learn a bit more about your distribution plans for this. I understand it's great to get the advertising from local companies on there. Are you planning on distributing local as well, or is it going to be localized based upon certain metros?
Yeah, definitely. So at first, Prish and I, we do plan on actually ourselves, since it's the first pilot run, we will distribute ourselves. However, and what are the options for these businesses? They get to choose where they actually want to distribute these boxes. Over time, part of our expansion plan does lead to having centralized locations with vending machines with our pink boxes, as long as maybe some other products we have, like a shaving essentials kit or a college kit, or just other boxes that we can put in these vending machines in centralized locations.
Is there a limit? Oh, sorry. Is there a limit to like how many, if you put it on a vending machine, for example, like technically somebody could just take all of them, correct? Is that like a problem? Is there like a challenge between like how it gets to people?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we want to have the vending machine set up so that we have kind of a membership format where members can sign up and they get one swipe per a set period of time. We want to research more into what that set period of time will be, but they get one swipe per member. So this is more of like a subscription-based model where they can continuously get the products that they need.
Any final questions, Zach?
Yeah, does the like the vending machine distribution at all cannibalize the purpose of printing ads on all 6 sides of the box, knowing that like you can't see all 6 sides of the box within the vending machine?
So actually, where most of our value comes is like three prongs. First is like the science of free, which is like people receive free products, they want to like interact with them. Second is like the psychology of reciprocity, where you receive something for free from a business, like either a free sample or a coupon, and you want to reciprocate that. And third is the repetition of the interaction within the ads. And this repetition happens usually within the home, since this is a product that will be used multiple times throughout on the average of it being in the house about a month, there's that repeated interaction. So our business model for the repeated interactions relies more on it being inside the home rather than being in public in a vending machine.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you both.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Paola, whenever you're ready, we're interested in hearing about Azurea.
Hi, everyone. My name is Paola Martinez, and I'm the founder of Azurea. When many people think about their high school experience, they think about cool parties, prom, graduation. However, I think about hurricanes, school closures, and limited access to basic necessities. This was and still is life in Puerto Rico. At Azurea, we believe in the power of fashion to drive positive change. Our mission goes beyond style. We believe that our swimsuits are crafted to make an impact. As a nonprofit brand, every piece of Azurea is designed with love for both the beach and the communities of Puerto Rico. When you wear Azurea, you're not just making a fashion statement, you're making a difference. Azurea commits 30% of its profits to initiatives in Puerto Rico, supporting community building projects, sustainable agriculture, disaster relief, education, and other critical areas where support is most needed. Our goal is to uplift Puerto Rico one swimsuit at a time, creating a ripple effect of positive change. Some of the nonprofits we will be working on are going to be mentioned later on. Wear your values and make waves for good. Thank you.
Thank you, Paola. Zach, do you want to start us off today?
Sure. Paula, thanks for the run through on this. I was curious, and maybe it's just because I'm on my phone and can't see it. I wasn't able to find any pricing within your initial video deck. I know donating half of all profits is fantastic, but knowing that we're sourcing sustainable materials and having some of this like this premium perception within an apparel brand, it ends up becoming a larger cost. How do you plan on pricing some of your swimsuits?
Yeah, that's an incredible question. So thank you for asking, Zach. I didn't put a specific price yet because swimwear, there's like different like styles, and every style is gonna be priced differently. Because some need more fabric than others. Some of them are gonna have different aspects, like certain designs, like little medals or little like charms, and all of this is gonna affect the cost, obviously. So I can give you an average. It's going to be around $50 to $60, which right now in the swimwear industry is an average price for swimwear. It is, as you said, it is really hard to give 50, 30% of the profits of whatever we are going to be making. However, we have been like revising our financial plan a lot to just make sure that we have a margin of profit left so we can keep production of different swimwear lines so we can keep the project going. So in our financial plan, we have around over like 10 to 20% of like margin of profit that is going to be used to just keep creating lines and designs so we can keep the project and the brand going. So thank you.
Liana?
Yeah, thanks, Paula. I think it's a great initiative to focus on, positive good and change while also creating a brand. But I'm curious, why did you choose swimwear? Because if the goal is really to, focus on giving back to Puerto Rico, like why swimwear? Why not, selling something else, maybe with lower margins or whatever it is, or higher margins?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So what this started as a passion project, really. I was in my sophomore year when I started Azurea. There was a hurricane that occurred in Puerto Rico, and I was like, how can I help without like having to go over there because I'm a student and I have responsibilities over here. And I started to brainstorm what are things I like, what are things I'm good at. And I'm really good at knowing swimwear. I have surfed for the last 6 years. I know the industry. I love designing. So I said I want to be able to not only sell something I know, sell something of quality to people and be able to combine my passion and what I like to do with also helping and sending help to the island.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
Thank you, Liana and Zach, and thank you, Paola, for today's pitch. Looking forward to the initial swimwear drop. And with that, Elon, whenever you're ready to pitch Lipides.
Thank you so much, Sephora. So my name is Elom. Every 12 seconds, someone dies from a stroke or a heart attack, two of the leading global causes of mortality. At the heart of these tragedies lies a critical risk factor, unmonitored high cholesterol. With about 2.6 million preventable deaths annually, current testing options fail us. They're expensive, they are lab dependent, and they are out of reach for underserved populations. Introducing Lipid Ease, a transformative home cholesterol monitoring device powered by advanced microfluidics therapy. Affordable at about under $100 and as easy to use as a glucometer, it delivers lab-grade accuracy right at your fingertips. We're looking to use our razor and blade revenue model, leveraging recurring test strip sales to ensure both accessibility and sustainability.
We are launching in healthcare professional shortage areas and targeting 2% of a 20 million serviceable market within 18 months. With 1.4 million in funding, we'll optimize production, expand access, and save lives on a scale that matters. Lipides isn't just a device, it's a revolution in preventive healthcare. Join us in revolutionizing healthcare. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll pass it to Zach to start.
Let's do it. How far along are you guys on your MVP development right now? 1.4 million ask is a big ask, and I don't know if this showcase is able to accommodate 1.4.
Yeah, so with respect to moving along, we're still very early. We're still talking to a lot of technical people. We've engaged some biomedical engineers. We've engaged some lab experts as well. We're still building out what the MVP would eventually look like. We actually need this funding because we're thinking about the R&D timeline and costs. There are three main things that we're looking at: the initial prototype, the clinical validation, and then the manufacturing scale. And we've allotted percentages based on most of the research that we did to these different aspects of it. So the prototype would take about 10% of that cost, the validation about 20%, and then the manufacturing and scale up would take about 70% of that cost.
Liana?
Great.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. I think that this is very needed when it comes to cholesterol monitoring in general, and just aging and longevity. To detect these things early is so important. I would like to know more about the actual technology itself, and what you're actually looking at. And on top of that, like if you're planning on going through like FDA approval and things like that, like how do you plan on being so affordable for actually costing less than $100? Which
So,
I would love, but I'm being realistic.
Yeah. So I think that's a very valid question. So in terms of FDA approval, we're looking at this being a Class 2 device, but I would be quick to mention that we are also exploring the 510K pathway, where it comes in as a predicate device. So it's easier to get approval for it because there are other devices on the market that are quite similar to it, but definitely we'll need to prove that to the FDA. But beyond that, we're also looking at the actual technology being microfluidics technology. It's more like a lab on a chip. The current devices out there in the market are slow because they use reflectance photometry, and the accuracy is much lower. And this helps us because we're targeting mainly the LDL biomarkers. And this is very common. A lot of physicians are familiar with this in, underserved communities. Also, one thing that's important to note is a lot of providers are already reimbursing for that particular biomarker. So it makes it much easier to target as well. So in terms of the technology, that's what we're looking at. In terms of the cost spread over time, we believe that, if we're able to couch our device as similar to devices already on the market as a predicate, then we will be able to meet our cost targets.
Are you looking at ApoB proteins, ApoB levels?
No, we are not looking at ApoB levels. That's what I was just explaining. So a lot of the more educated markets would look at things like the LPA as compared to the LDL. But because we are targeting a lot of the underserved communities, we feel that we need to go with a biomarker that's very familiar, accurate, easy to measure, and something that's a primary target for a lot of providers within those areas as well. So because these are already built into the protocols that already exist, it makes it easy to go with that. And I would also add that in terms of infrastructure, there are already existing supply chains for LDL reagents, and that makes it much easier to go with that.
Okay. Thank you, judges, for those thorough questions. With that, we are going to transition to our last team. Sarwesh will be joining without his camera on just because he's joining from a different device, but he is here and ready to pitch Precision AI. Sarwesh, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Sarwesh Ronyar, and I'm the founder of Precision AI. Surgeons performing minimally invasive procedures often need to use X-ray imaging during surgery to guide their actions. To make these X-rays meaningful, they must be aligned with preoperative CT scans, which provide a 3D map of the patient's anatomy. This alignment ensures the surgeon knows exactly where they are operating, especially in areas with complex structures like the spine, brain, or joints. However, current alignment methods rely on manual adjustments or outdated algorithms that are time-consuming and often inaccurate. This can lead to prolonged surgeries, higher risks of complications, and less precise outcomes. Our solution solves this problem by using AI to create patient-specific simulated X-rays from the preoperative CT scan. This allows for seamless automated alignment tailored to each patient's anatomy, eliminating manual intervention and improving accuracy. What sets us apart is our unique self-supervised learning model and real-time refinement mechanism. So please join us with Precision AI, transforming how surgeons navigate the operating room, making surgeries safer, faster, and more precise.
Thank you. Zach, Liana, any questions to start?
Yeah, I can start. I think it's very much a needed market, and I think that there are a lot of companies that are coming into this market because they see how important it is, especially when it comes to assisting surgeries. So I think there's a lot of potential here. I was curious when it comes to actually like talking to different physicians and things like that, have you specifically focused on the type of physician that you would even focus on and what types of very like specific surgeries that you would work on?
Yeah, definitely. Based on our product, we really are targeting orthopedic surgeons because they perform minimally invasive procedures quite frequently, and as well as like neurosurgeons and interventional radiologists, as they all perform like very image guided and minimally invasive procedures so far.
Have you looked into anyone specific, like more targeted? Because each type of physician that you work with will have a different code, which will have kind of a different kind of market pathway that you'll need to go through.
When you mean specific, like, do you mean like
Like
a
the
specific
the
subfield?
reimbursement market access process. We can talk about it after, because there's
Okay,
there's a lot of detail on the AI and like
sure.
healthcare side of things. But it's a really awesome technology.
Thanks.
Zach, do you
Awesome.
have anything?
Yeah, I was curious about how this product is going to be built out and delivered to the physicians. Maybe you have more details on that.
Yeah. So in terms of delivering the product to the physicians, we're planning to do like direct sales to hospitals and surgical centers and basically sell directly to places where minimally invasive procedures are performed. And we're probably going to focus on like high volume surgical centers and teaching hospitals to like adapt this technology into their healthcare system.
Gotcha. And just for my clarification, this is going to be like a website, a web application.
It's going to be more of like a software that surgeons can use directly.
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you, Sarwesh, and thank you, judges. Both you, Liana, and Zach should have received a Zoom link from Paul, my colleague. Now would be the time to transition over to deliberate. We'll give y'all some time while we do our second audience choice prize. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll for round 2. Please get those in. And while we're waiting for the audience participation, Jay's still here. Would you love to, I would love if you could give some, remarks or feedback from the pitches that you judged and anything you got a chance to see in round 2.
Absolutely. And did you want us to share the winner for the first section?
Oh, not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
yet. Not
Well,
yet.
okay. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure. I mean, in general, as we went off to talk about the pitches from the first section, I would say we saw a number of really compelling problems that the world needs us to solve. And so love to see the ambition as you all try to figure out how to go make progress in these areas. A lot of interesting new ideas, a lot of scrappy ways to get started. So really loved to see how teams were coming together to do those. And I'll save the rest of my comments for when we're ready to talk about the winning team.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So we still have about another 4 minutes or so. Oh, Todd, do you want to give some just general broad stroke remarks?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was fun to see kind of the wide variety of things that people are, digging into. Encourage everyone, just to keep moving forward. I thought, in particular, some of the teams could use, this is something I see commonly in a lot of these settings, is very ambitious timelines, which I think is fair from one angle, represents kind of the optimism that's needed for entrepreneurs to keep moving forward. But also I would just also encourage folks to, as much as possible, keep reaching out to people who maybe have done similar things in the industry they're in, just to understand, what the pathway ahead really looks like. Getting something to market and getting some traction just takes a lot of time and energy. And I would want everyone to go in eyes wide open.
Yeah, definitely heard and understood, and we're always doing our best to help our founders along the way understand that too throughout our programming. Speaking of programming, you all have had a chance to see Spark. Some of you on the call might be interested in participating now that you've seen what the final showcase looks like. For those of you that attended Fuel and or are interested in Fuel, we're live. Our applications are actively accepting new students to participate in the spring semester. And one thing that I'll share that is new to me even is that Spark is going to be for the first time in over 2 years in person in the spring. So for those of you that participated this fall and have friends that are ideating, please let them know to apply and let them know that they'll have the full advantage of being completely in person and taking advantage of all of the resources that we have here on a very frequent basis. Would love, Josh, if you can share maybe a little bit more about Fuel or any of the other programs we've got coming up, including Summer Incubator in the spring.
Yeah, the spring is definitely our busiest time of year for sure. So many different opportunities for student teams. And for those on the call, I would highly encourage you check out all of these opportunities, either by clicking on the QR code on your screen or just going to our website at thepavacenter.jhu.edu. But so many great opportunities are, you've all gotten a taste today, obviously, of our Spark Accelerator. Our Fuel Accelerator kind of flip-flops with Spark in the spring, and the Fuel Accelerator is offered online in the spring. So it's in person in the fall, online in the spring. And these are for the teams that have really locked into their initial offering and are looking to scale up their minimum viable product, that MVP. And so it includes a higher stipend, a lot of mentorship, a lot of connections with the ecosystem, and all kinds of good things moving forward. As Sephora mentioned, we also have a bunch of other grants, higher level grants for our advanced teams in the spring that we encourage folks to apply for. This includes our Innovation and Entrepreneurship Challenge, where prizes range from $10,000 to $30,000 for continuing to advance a venture. To our largest award, which is available for graduating students to apply for. Our Presidential Venture Fellowship is $140,000 non-dilutive, directly supported by the President's Office and generous philanthropic alums. So really proud and excited for those opportunities. And then our Summer Incubator is our in-summer live and work on campus experience. It runs for about 6 weeks, starting shortly after the end of classes, all the way up to the July 4th weekend. And so that is usually a cohort of 20 to 25 students that are working on their ventures full time over that summer period. Just like with everything else, we surround them with mentorship, with support, with networks. We try to do a lot out and about in Baltimore. For those that have a really busy class schedule, it's nice to kind of take a moment and discover the ecosystem more. We do field trips, we do some fun stops at restaurants, and above all else, we work on the ventures. And so it's a time for you to really buckle down and get a lot of work done as you think about scaling up what you're doing. So all of this and more at our website, again, pavacenter.jhu.edu. And you can just Google it, and excited to answer more questions and to see folks apply to those different opportunities.
Yes, yes, yes. It's a exciting time. And like Josh mentioned, it's also quite busy. Even if you're on the call and participate today, but not feeling like doing Fuel next semester is best for your current traction or fit. We do have plenty of other pitch competition prizes that you can participate in without having to go through a full-fledged program, including innovation and entrepreneurship, which I'll doubly emphasize here. So we are still waiting on our second round of judges to share some of their thoughts, but I'd now like to ask, without revealing the winners, if you'd like to give very specific feedback to the teams that presented for your round, Todd and Jay, now would be the best time.
Yeah, I don't know that I have anything more than what we already discussed with each of the teams during their time. We'll just offer up, happy to interact with any of those teams again later if they have any interest in, following up or have other ways that we think we could support what they're doing.
And on that note, Todd, I wonder, if you could take a minute and I'll do the same with you, Jay, in just a second here, but wondering if you could talk a little bit about your journey post Hopkins and what you work on here today. We had a slide about you at the beginning, but I would assume that not everybody saw it or absorbed it. And you have a really cool and interesting career and have been a great help to many of our teams. So wondering if you could share a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah. I left Hopkins and generally entered the medical device industry. After a number of years there, my partner and I went overseas, worked at a social enterprise in Myanmar, making products and services for rural farming families there. But then came back to the US and I joined a postgraduate fellowship program at Stanford, focused on innovation and health technology. And learned a lot there. That I had thought it was just going to be a transition back to sort of like early stage R&D work, but definitely expanded my whole view of how companies get going and how ventures work. And so did found a digital health company out of that, and learned a lot from actually walking that whole path. And returned to the Baltimore area a few years ago. And work now at Root 3 Labs. We're a small engineering consultancy. We do focus a lot on medical devices, but work across consumer and defense and all sorts of industries. And with a mix of mechanical, electrical, biomedical engineering stuff here. It's fun to kind of see. We work with a lot. We've had the opportunity to work with a lot of smaller ventures coming out of Hopkins, but also big companies and everything else. And I enjoy the variety of all that.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning, we've sent many teams over to Todd and the rest of the team at Root 3 Labs, and highly recommend any folks that are thinking about next steps with prototyping or manufacturing physical objects. You definitely are going to want to check out their engineering expertise, and I'm happy as well to help connect folks. So definitely part of our stable of trusted advisors and ecosystem partners. And Jay, wonder if I can kick that same question over to you. Tell us a little bit more about your journey post Hopkins.
Yeah, sure. After Hopkins, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I went straight into grad school and was studying natural language processing, machine learning, all that sort of stuff. Long before it was cool, and did a summer internship with Google and decided I really wanted to do something that touched, at the time, millions of people's lives a day, now billions of people's lives a day. And so that's really been my passion. I work on search. We build our infrastructure that keeps search fast, reliable, secure, all these things. And so what's really cool for me every day at Google is that reach of billions of people. What I love seeing when I come to these competitions, though, is just the breadth of different problems you all get to and have to solve in order to get something off the ground. At Google, I'm an engineering leader, and we have people who do all of the product development and legal and all the other stuff. I don't, get to play in that. And I guess one of the joys and the challenges for all of you in these early stage ventures is, you get to and you have to do all of that stuff to be successful. So it's really fun for me to come and see these things that are much earlier, but also have this nice breadth of problems that you get to solve.
I'm curious, a question for both of you, as folks that are very active in both, large industry, but also have a real pulse on startups. What do you feel are really the opportunities or problem spaces of the future that you would be encouraging our teams, whether they're the ones here today or just in general, to be thinking about and looking at? And Todd, I'll kick that over to you first.
I mean, there are just so many areas, so many problems to be solved. But I think I have a strong interest, especially around health. And I think anything that will enable people to take control of their own health. And there's a lot of dimensions to that. It could be, physical or mental or otherwise. But people face a lot of challenges around that. And at least, I don't know that there's any health system in the world, but I think certainly not the one we have in the US that really is going to hold anybody's hand through that. So it's on you. You own your own health, and anything that can help people to do that, I think is a great opportunity.
Agreed. Yeah, good thoughts. And certainly I think a lot of our students are thinking a lot about that given, changes in national politics that we're all highly aware of.
Mhm.
Jay, what about you in the tech space? I mean, obviously Google's not going anywhere, but what else? You've already seen so many of our teams are thinking about AI, so I have to imagine that's top of mind. What else are you thinking about?
Well, yeah, when you asked the question, I was going to say I'm pretty sure I'm contractually obligated to say AI here, because I think, and we did see a few of the teams using it, but what's really cool is that technology and the pace of advances in it has the potential to transform basically anything, right? We saw teams talking about AI to change education, to change health, to change finances, and so much more. So I think it does allow a lot of creativity. Whatever you're doing, I'd encourage you to think about, is there a way for AI to transform or disrupt? The answer is yes. The question is, can you figure out what it is, and how quickly can you try something out and prove you have a product that is going to be interesting for people to use?
I'm curious, for so long we've taught, lean startup methodology and, the whole build fast, break things, that has been made so famous over the years. Do you think that sort of value still holds, or do you think there's more pressure than there used to be on shipping great product right away?
I think the methodology still applies, right? Often, obviously we all want the best product possible on day one, but in reality, especially when you're giving people something for which there is no alternative, they'll accept things and give you the chance to fix them over time, right? Just giving an example, like AI has become immensely fast, now compared to where it was a year or two ago. But even a year or two ago, if you handed someone a new application of AI and said, "Here, play with this," it would be really slow. But people would be like, "Oh, but this is amazing because I can do all sorts of things I couldn't do beforehand." So, yeah, everyone wants that really polished product, but you're looking for the thing that people love anyways. And so I think that, hey, just try things out, find something that just makes people say wow, and then you have a chance to polish it. I think that methodology still applies a lot, at least in the spaces I work in.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting when I think about, especially in the software domain, what you can do now as the first pass can happen so much more quickly, potentially with the use of AI to help you, write code or develop an interface or something that maybe you would have taken a lot more work before. So in a way, it's like, that could kind of raise the bar for what your first introduction might be. But I think it's still people need to be really shrewd and thinking about, well, what is really needed? Because just the ability to create that thing that has more features and looks better more easily at the beginning still doesn't mean that that's the right move. So, the technology can help us to get it done faster and easier in a way, but still got to focus on what you're doing and make sure it's the right thing.
Cool. Yeah, I think these are certainly points that we would all, agree with, and it's always great to hear just, fresh thoughts from all of you. So thank you. I had just received word that our guests, have our other judges have finalized their pick, and we have our audience choice wins. And so, Sephora, do you want to go ahead and queue up our judges here to announce the first round of winners, and then we'll go from there?
Yes. Would love to hear from Jay and Todd if you all are ready, and I'll try to pull up the slide as well. It's not actually in order, so um, give me one moment. Typically, we just kind of show them all at once. Do, 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 do. but would love Todd and Jay, if you're ready to just share like 1 or 2 thoughts as I pull up our winner for the first judge prize. Maybe they didn't hear.
Just jumping in, Jay and Todd, just making sure that you're following that one. Sephora,
We're ready to go. Like,
all right, cool.
Can we
Just waiting
say?
for a slide. I think you can go ahead
All
and
right,
just
cool.
talk about it. Is that cool, Sephora?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
so
This
we
is
can
perfect.
say the name of the team now, just making sure we're not going out of
Yes.
order.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
awesome.
yes.
So yes, like we said earlier, there was a bunch of cool projects we saw. That said, we did have a unanimous top choice from our judges, and we picked Cortisense as the winner for the first round. We thought it was a really inspiring opportunity to address a global health problem. We thought the team seemed like they had a really firm grasp of the science. They had partnerships across, both research and technology development, and we really thought they had a good sense of, reasonable expectations for, what comes next in the timeline. So overall, solid across all aspects. So amazing job. We're really excited to say congrats to Cortisense.
Clap, clap, clap. Congrats, Nishta and team. And our audience choice for that first round is Care Across Borders. Congratulations, Mame. And before I continue, Zach or Liana, do you want to give a few thoughts and virtually announce the next round's prize pick?
Yeah, I'd be honored to. We had a long time deliberating who who we should award this money to. I think Paul was in there moderating us, like staring at the count, the shot count, while we were just going back and forth on who did well, who did really well. I think all that is to say it was a very difficult decision, but the team that we chose to move on with the cash, we thought that they had the best ability to use the prize money to carry on to the next portion of their business venture, and we wanted to award that to Start Smart. I think financial literacy is extremely important amongst everyone in general. Navigating that as someone who is new to a new country, doesn't speak the same language, it's so important to have a community that's there to support you, and Start Smart seems to be the clear winner for us.
Congratulations, Efwa. And our audience choice for the second round was Free Flow. So congratulations, Ethan and Prisha. And that brings us to the end of today's showcase. I know we're a little over time, so thank you all for staying on and seeing who won. Please stay connected. We have one tomorrow as well. Same time, 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern. Different teams, different judges, but same mission. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you all.
Much appreciated, everybody. Congratulations to all.